Okay, so hello everyone. Today we are delighted to invite a unique session led by Professor Melanie Verte Heike and the students Ms. Jordan Rochester and Ms. Vanessa Arriaga Molina, titled Transforming Lives, Radcliffe University Social Work Program in Tanzania, a journey of impact and empowerment. So the students and the professor were in the village of Mobuni, and they have the opportunity, to explore different venues during the time that they stay in Tanzania. So now let's welcome them and let's start with their presentation. Thank you.
Thank you all for being a part of this and being here with us today. And I'm going to have Vanessa and Jordan introduce themselves, and then I'll introduce myself. Vanessa?
Yes, so my name is Vanessa Arriaga, and I am a social work major. What else would I be?
Jordan, go ahead if you'd like.
Yeah, my name is Jordan Rochester. I'm also a social work major, a senior this year doing my practicum.
And I'm Melanie Berry-Hickey. I'm a social work professor of Vanessa and Jordan, and I'm so thankful for each of these students and Dr. Suarez for coming along with me on my trip to Buguni, Tanzania, and Moshi and Arusha. And it was super exciting to have my social work students a part of this because they were able to immerse themselves into a culture other than their own and really kind of learn about different cultures, socioeconomic, and the differences. First of all, we are so thankful for the Sisters of St. Francis of Dubuque for their contribution in helping us be these students, servant leaders. And they had provided us with a grant that Dr. Suarez, Vanessa, Jordan, and any social work student that, any student that was with us as well. And Erin Nettleberg, who was a part of our team. So this was really a part of being an immersion trip to Buguni, Tanzania. And prior to us starting the taping, we were just kind of chuckling about there really is no address. Amazon can't deliver. And how would you describe how to get to Buguni? It is between Arusha and in Moshi, but it's also about 30 minutes from the Kilimanjaro airport in Tanzania. This is Buguni, is how you spell it, and this is just the road sign as you go into Buguni. And you can see in the background, it's really kind of plush and beautiful. And ironically, right behind that is one of the canals we're going to talk about later that the Enactus team and Davis, who's a part of the business department here in the Enactus, was able to help navigate those systems to provide such green. And you can see here at the arrow kind of shows where Buguni is. It's just important to know, and this is why I do this. So you can see that it's really kind of just kind of in the middle of, I would say, like rural Tanzania, kind of middle of nowhere. And it's this most beautiful little area that has rich heritage, just the most welcoming people and a lot of diversity. So with that stating, I'm going to give that all over to our students, to my students, to talk about their experiences.
Yeah, so thank you, Melanie, for starting us off. I just want to say I'm really thankful and fortunate to have been part of this trip with an amazing group of staff and students. It was just an amazing trip, which you learned a lot, and it makes you come back with a different mentality. So I'm really grateful that I got to be part of this trip. So yeah, starting off talking about STEM. STEM was, according to their page, was founded in 1996. And then as I saw, their first trip that the founders made with 10 people from the Sioux land was in 1997. They went there and they came back wanting to provide ongoing assistance to the kids. They saw their needs and they wanted to provide ongoing assistance with spiritual growth, medical care, and education. And I never asked what the STEM name meant until I saw this PowerPoint, which I think Melanie added there, which stands for Siouxland Tanzania Educational Medical Ministry. So within STEM, the kids there, as I was told, there are 50 kids there, and they range from many ages. And one question that I had was, how are the kids put into STEM? And I was wondering that because you see a lot of kids outside of STEM still needing help. And I was like, why is it that these kids got chosen? And as I was told in Baguni and then by Melanie, these kids were chosen because social workers went into these homes. They did at-home visits. There was also referrals. So a big part also why these kids got chosen was maybe because of the living situations within their families. And most of these kids also end up being taken care of their grandparents due to the parents leaving for reasons like going to work or just medical stuff. So yeah, there's 50 kids currently at STEM, and these kids at STEM are not all sponsored. So what I was told is that these kids are partially sponsored, not sponsored at all, or have a full sponsorship. And I'm not sure the cost of the kids at STEM for someone to sponsor them. And we'll get more into that with public schools and private schools. But I was told that private school, these kids, for someone to sponsor these kids, it's a cost of like $800, and it could be more. It could range from like $800 to $1,000 or more. But yeah, these kids, some of them still don't have sponsorship. So I just think it's amazing how people have sponsored these kids, and hopefully all these kids eventually get sponsors. As for their living situation there at STEM, there are 4 houses, you could say, within the property, and then they are divided between small boys, big boys, small girls, and big girls. And each home has their own mama, which is, I mean, we could say their mom. They take care of them and make sure they have everything they need. And I mean, I don't know if Jordan, you have anything else to add there within the kids and STEM?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the mamas also have like a really good part in that they teach a lot of those kids a lot of those like adult independent skills. So like the mamas will work with them on like their cleaning schedules, working with their clothing, how to handle that, just basically taking care of themselves. So when they do eventually graduate from STEM, they have those basic skills. STEM is also a completely fully sustainable like compound. So they grow all of their own food there. They have livestock, they have people who manage the crops, but now they're doing they have so much extra that they're able to sell to support themselves at local markets. And then they have 2 crops. I don't quite recall the 2 crops that they have for export that they're doing. So very great place. They're able to continue to take care of themselves and the children they support. And then we can go to the next slide, Melanie, if you're ready.
I would just like to say, Willie, you can add the best bananas ever. Are right
Truly.
here. Fresh
So-
bananas. If you never had one, oh my gosh, amazing.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and then so we did a lot of things pertaining to education while we were there. All of us were co-presenters, a part of Erin's presentation on self-care for college students at the College of Business Administration in Arusha. So we got to each give a little bit of background on Franciscan values, and then Erin talked about how really we can take care of ourselves as students, which was not only beneficial like to the people we were talking to, but also for us students that were there. Like she presented some good points that I hadn't considered and definitely like get to put in my practice now of like taking care of myself. I also really loved that all of the people we spoke to at the college were so accepting and very like open to share their stories and like how they deal with stress, other life issues, and just very like wanting to get in contact and communicate. So I love that they're just so very like community based and helping. So that was like felt very like nice to experience that. We talked a little bit about how education in menstruation impacts younger women. So oftentimes girls don't have the resources they need to take care of themselves during their like menstrual cycle. So things like tampons, pads aren't accessible to them. So oftentimes they either miss school because they're bleeding, or they would take whatever extra scraps of cloth they have to make like a reusable pad essentially. So there's different groups that work to educate women on. There's a group within STEM, specifically the education department there works with girls and educating on how their menstrual cycles work, and then hygiene for that, and then working with them to basically make kits so they can have pads and they don't have to miss school, so they can continue their education, and that isn't like a hindrance to their progress. Between that, we also did the Sunny Hope Daycare, which is also supported or sponsored by STEM. I'm not sure if it's fully or partially sponsored, but it's a great place. And Miriam, who runs that, came from the area. She went to college, got her education, and came back and decided that she wanted to help and put back into her community, which is great. And you can, when you go there, you see just how much like she has done for kids and the opportunities she offers them. So this classroom here in the bottom picture is from Sunny Hope, and compared to like a public school, elementary or something, like there's just so much more vibrancy in educational tools, and there's just a lot more academically there for the students. I don't know, Vanessa, if you'd like to go on and talk about private and public schools.
Yeah, so I think going into the private schools, you can really tell the difference between that and a public school. I mean, the differences are just insane. I think a private school here, it's sad to say, but I don't think it's as nice as our public schools, you know? And it's really amazing how the differences that you see between those schools, like public schools there. Going into those schools, we did the feeding program. You see the kind of food that the kids are getting. You also see the classrooms, which we didn't insert pictures, but I mean, some of the classrooms really need help with everything. Some classrooms don't have desks, don't have some students don't have the proper tools for their education. And we were also told that in the public schools, they need more teachers. So they have a bunch of kids, but don't have the enough teachers for those schools. And then for the private schools, we went to one that was called STAR, and we were able to talk to Sister Ruth, I believe, there. And she gave us a tour of the private school, which was also amazing to see how they grow their own crops as well, just like STEM does. So I don't know if you guys.
Well, the picture up on the top right with Davis by the library, that is at Star School. That is
Yes.
one of the private schools. So they have books, and you can see they have plenty of books, but a lot of those have been donated by universities and schools across the United States. And a main difference between a private and public schools too is just the accessibility to the tools. Most public schools, some of them don't even have, correct me if I'm wrong, Willie, but like walls. They might be just a structure that has benches, and you know, students are sitting on each other's laps, maybe sharing one pencil for 50 students. They just do not have the tools that they need, but they're excited to be at school.
Yeah.
So kind of different than maybe here in the United States, where it's such a privilege to go to school, and they want to go to school because they know it's going to help them in their future career.
That's one thing I love to see when we were there, is that every kid you interacted with was like so happy to be there. Like there were cases where you did see like there was like a classroom with one teacher, 50 students, and the kids were literally like crammed 3 kids into one desk, but all of them were just so excited to learn and continue and like do their activity. Like it is just truly like a different experience to what we have here.
Yes, it made me hear how ungrateful, and even me, I mean, looking at these kids, they basically have nothing, and we're over here sometimes complaining over one thing or another, and I mean, they're happy with what they have.
So we can go on to talk about the feeding program. This happens at the I think this one's just one specific public school. It's not all public schools. STEM does sponsor part of this. So I know that they pay for the cook to come in, and they pay for the oil that's used to cook food. But then the parents of the students will bring the rice and beans that the children eat. So this is just pictures of showing that they have one, I want to say how many kids were there, maybe 50, 75 kids were at that school, at least. So a lot of kids, but that's right here on the left is like this one pot filled with like corn and beans and then like water to kind of make a soup. And that's what they get. Like each kid gets like a quarter of a scoop. They bring their own plate, their own silverware, they bring up. and then you just feed them that scoop, and then if there's any leftovers, they'll call for leftovers, and like you see like all these kids running up, because for some of them this is the only meal that they get during the day, which is like a huge incentive for them to go to school so they could eat. But then like once it's out, and there's really nothing they can do because each person can only have so much, so they can at least feed everyone once.
Yes, and I also, what captured my attention was that some kids didn't have water. And I mean, this food is hot. And I mean, I was just looking at them and it's like, I mean, they're used to it. These kids had sweaters on, as you can see in one of the pictures. I mean, it's just incredible how they have adapted, I mean, to that. And yeah, it was incredible seeing this and being part of the feeding program.
The one thing too, I'm just gonna add is that the feeding program, there's a lot of different charitable organizations that are a part of this as well in the community. And Charity Tanzania is one as well. We're gonna talk about them in a little bit, but the STEM and Charity Tanzania they work together to build that sustainability within the food and nutritional system. Because the more nutrition a child has, the better off that they get brain development, physical development, you know, when you have something in your belly, when you're hungry and you can't even function. And also their eating utensils are what usually, Vanessa and Jordan, it is their hands. Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
when she said it's hot, you know, they're using their hands to
yeah,
eat.
some of them just like drink from the bowl or the plate that
Yeah,
they're using
yeah.
for it.
So it's way different than us right now. So
Mhm.
And then with this slide, that is the STAR private school, correct?
yes, it is Star. Yeah.
Yes, so that was, like I had mentioned, an amazing and different experience too, to see and compare the private school to the public school. Yeah, Sister Ruth, which is there in the two pictures up top, gave us a tour of the STAR building, and it was nice to see how they grow their own crops, and it's like similar to STEM, which they have sustainability there. Jordan, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think it's also just like you touched on earlier, it's such a stark difference between like when we think public school here in like the States, it's very kind of like pristine. It's definitely like thought of like the best education you get for your kid, but like over here, like you can see in this bottom right corner, like this is their kitchen. This is how they're feeding everyone, like absolutely nothing to like what we would think or use. Even like it being a private school and a better education, there is still like broken windows in places. There's still kids that don't have proper like desks and chairs in the classrooms. Like they do have like a library, but it's very minimal on materials, and a lot of it is also like it's all academic, which is good, but like there's no like leisure reading for them to like kind of in that library for them to pursue other types of reading, because it's all that's been donated has been academic textbook based. So it just is a very like different, but they're all still so extremely grateful for the opportunity, and it's just honestly very just like heartwarming and inspirational to see that they just use everything to the best of their ability, and I love that.
So I'm just going to add, Sister Ruth contacts me almost weekly regarding updates on the Star School, which we are going to also do a special collection this Sunday at Mass here on campus for the Star School. Whatever we get is going to Star. So she got $100 donation from us, as when we left, $100 was donated. And she said that of that $100, she was able to give 5 students each 10,000, and it's in their, and Willie, what's it called? 10,000
will be
Shilling.
shillings.
Okay. So she said that she was able to give each student 10,000 for their hair and other personal needs. She gave money to one student who needed personal needs, clothing, and soap and body oil. And then she said that she was able to buy enough soap, sanitary towels, pants, underwear, papers for printing, counter books, which I'm assuming is their math books, uniform, skirt, and still has money left over to give to other students. So she goes, it was a very good day. And she sent pictures, and the pictures of all the little girls with Sister Ruth, who is from Kenya. She just said it was a very good day. And she goes, was extremely thankful. And it was a big surprise. She goes, when Danny, who is the social worker that brought it over, she said, handing this $100, she said that it was the best surprise that God gave her that day. because she said I was able to help, and that is what she loves to do, is help these girls. And she said there's also boys on campus, but she chose this $100 for the girls. So it was just kind of cute how she said that. She goes, that will be another donation. And here's just, I'm just going to go on to this one. This is the STAR students that she said that she helped. So each one of these students sent me a message, and in their via WhatsApp. And if anybody wants to listen to them, come get me on campus, because it is so cute how they say, thank you, we're appreciative of you, we love your school, and they're very excited about learning. And this again is Sister Ruth, who I was connected with the last time I went, and Willie as well was connected with her. And so we've been staying in touch. And she said any educational counselors, anybody can come and they can stay even with her and get a minimal stipend, but have a place to stay and work at Star School, which is a Catholic school.
So this slide is the chalkboards that we went to paint with the kids with Dana, which is one of the founders of STEM. And she created her organization called Charity Tanzania, which, as I remember, she had said that she gets $600 every month to help in some sort of way the community, any needs that they have that month, or they prioritize something, and those $600 go towards something. So I think this time they went towards the chalkboards, and I believe also these chalkboards are painted, I believe, twice a year. Which, I mean, we went to some other public schools, and we saw the chalkboards that they had there, and I mean, they had a lot of writing in them, and they looked like they hadn't been painted in time. So I don't know how that works or how they erase. So it's just, I mean, incredible that they only get the chance to paint them twice a year, if not less. Jordan, I don't know if you wanted to add something else to that.
No, I wasn't here for this experience,
Oh,
so I'll
yeah.
just talk on it.
Yeah.
Willie,
So, I
do you have
mean-
anything to add? Because you were there too.
We were there, painting, the chalkboards. And I think it was an amazing experience, precisely because we have a great welcome from the students. And by the end, they were, chanting and singing and dancing. And I think, people are so thankful in Tanzania, especially in these small schools that are small in structure, but they have a large number of students, probably in each classroom, you might find more than 50 students, right? So I think seems like a outstanding project to participate.
And I just look at these pictures, and I just remember being there, and I can't stop smiling because they were so excited to get these
Right.
chalkboards
Right.
and to participate in the rolling. We're like, we didn't have to roll. They were just like, they were very cautious not to get themselves messy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were, and then they went out, like you said, Willie, and they chanted. They gave us a song, and
Right.
then the head, what do they call the head of the school was
The principal, was
yeah, she was
leading,
just like cheering them on.
and,
It was so cool. And then
Yeah.
they did some jumping up, and then it's like a little dance, and it was just super excited to have us there in Charity Tanzania. So yeah, and Dana was a part of at one point, and now she founded her own, which is Charity Tanzania.
Right.
And so Star School, there's STEM and Charity Tanzania. They're all doing amazing things for their community, but all funded differently, but by different people, and it's all by donations.
Okay, so here we have just some pictures of the culture. So Maasai culture is primarily, I believe, what is there. That's what we experienced a lot of. In this bottom picture here was our first full day there. We got to start the day by going to 2 different church services, which was really fun. One was for the kids, and that's just kind of like, that one worked very similarly how it is here. They get a little sermon, they sing a few songs, and they go. The other one at the bottom here lasts hours. I think we were there for 2 or 3 hours at that one. It kept going after that for sure, but there was So I've never like felt so much joy in a room. I think especially like I'm not super religious, but like I come from a very religious family, but like our like worship never felt like so much love and joy in one room. So like I loved that. I love that aspect. But there's dancing, there's singing, there's everyone pulling each other in to just, and like Willie, you were there, you were jumping around, you were dancing. Like it's just so fun. And there's just so like everyone is just so open to sharing and just like sharing their faith with each other, which I love. It's a great thing to see, honestly, just wonderful.
I
Yes.
think,
Oh no, go ahead, Lily.
no, I think, participating in that religious service was not only about religion, but also about culture, and the way that they express their happiness, especially because they were very welcome to us. I think that we were like a special guest, and they really wanted to show us, that they were pleased to having us and to participate in the, worship service. Yeah.
Yes, I as well had an amazing time there. I mean, like Jordan said, you could just feel the joy and the love within there. I still sometimes remember the faces of these individuals, and it's just amazing. It brings me so much happiness to remember their faces. They were just so happy dancing to these songs. So it was just an amazing time being able to be there with them.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Maasai culture, so you can see that they have their customary way of dressing. And it's important to be aware of that because they're very proud of their colors, their ability to really outwardly express who they are. So this gal right here at the very top was a woman that I met the first time I was there, and she was with her husband, and she had several kids, and now they're grown up. Her husband's older as well, and so is she. And she's like, I remember you, because we had a very kind of unique topic of conversation when we were there. And but she was like, thank you for coming back. And I was showing her pictures on my phone of her several years ago with her children. And when I go back, and the next time we go back, hopefully next year, I'm going to print those pictures out, because she's like, we don't get these pictures. We see them, but we don't get them in our hands. And I'm like, oh, I mean, here we are. Here, we get pictures if we want them. But just, I want to put a shout out to Erin Nettleberg, who was a part of our team as well. When we were there at the worship service at the very bottom, we were very hot. Remember that? Just very, 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 very hot. And we were like, too bad there couldn't be fans. Well, her and her husband funded that. And so now they have fans. So in that little building, which is very packed because there's a lot of people. But I thought that was kind of cool. Okay, go to the next.
Here we have just some more examples of culture. These were ones that I found at the Heritage Art Gallery. I think it just really shows everyone's like different representation of like the Maasai, but also like you can see like I like in this bottom with the kids, like I think everyone we interact with always had a smile. Everyone was always so happy, and I loved that. And then just the various things of like about their culture, you can see the jewelry and the face paintings, and then the piercings in the ears were also very important. It just like showed that who they were. And I think they also said that like most people, I think you can see it in this bottom left one, but there's usually like a circle on the face of some sort. And I remember that like Daniel Leiser like had his tomb, was telling us about it, and that's just also part of like the Maasai culture as well.
Yeah.
And Daniel is this middleman here in this top one. He was great. He showed us so much stuff. He's very fun, just very informational. And then over here, I guess, Vanessa, do you want to take over and talk about the leprosy?
Yes, I mean, I'm not really informed about it, but what I saw or what I heard and learned was that it's a chronic disease, and it's caused by an infection, it affecting mostly like the eyes and nose. And as we can see in that bottom right picture, some of them don't have, is it like fingers or thumbs? And as of now, I think there is a cure, but there wasn't. So all these people that we met there are currently taking medications, and I'm not sure if it was for, if it's like a forever thing that they had to take. So I don't know, Melanie, if you could talk about that.
Well, and I'm not for sure if they take it or if they already, they are cured, but I know that they go back periodically to be tested, because if it comes back, then they do need to isolate themselves. And you know, leprosy is, if you're part of most religions, they talk about leprosy in the Bible, right? And that's how it was something that you just had to like shun from people. So in this leprosy colony, how they are able to even sustain their living is through begging, and also people like us coming and being a part of their community. So we give donations the last time we were there, that we had a student that gave donations of clothes. We always give money. But the neat thing about this is Davis, and then I know that picture is a little bit blurry to the bottom of the left there, but Davis was able to really focus on the worshiping again. He was able to read a Bible verse, and he read the Bible verse about leprosy. And we were able to give snacks and some food and drinks to these individuals, but they take care of each other. So if a child in the past, like if a child would have leprosy, and the mom as well, they would be isolated in these colonies and were not able to leave. And so now they're able to go out and beg once they're cured, but they do take care of each other. You can very much see that in this little area. But the living conditions is not what we're accustomed to. They really don't have an income. So everything is about donations. Everything that they use has a purpose. There's no extra, but they really rely on people like the travelers and their community to help them. And this is Aaron and Danny, and I forget his name. I think it Frank, maybe. But
Yeah,
anyway, and he says he's from the FBI Academy, which he's really not, but he loves that sweatshirt. But he was helping us, and he is the one that communicates with the individuals there, and he's a part of the leprosy initiative. And it's Sunnybrook here in Sioux City also helps with that initiative. And back in the Sunnybrook also helps with Sunny Hope, and they're the main fundraiser for them as well. That daycare we talked about earlier.
And then I know that they're also, I believe, said working on housing for the leprosy colony, at least like more stable housing for them.
Because this
So
is literally like a little hallway, I would say, or
it's like an alley.
alley. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, and then if you go into one of their not that we were able to go into their house, but we could have, but we didn't. But we were, last time you were there, Willie, we went into this building, and it literally there's nothing. I mean, so they spend most of their time outside with each other. So, but you're right, it does impact their hands, their limbs. Many of them are blind, open sores, things like that. So here's more of the worship. I love this.
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot about the worship, but here's our different experiences. Aaron was able to share some music with them, which was really great. Very just felt like it brought everyone together. And then you have their choir in the second picture, with very nice like choreographed dances and just like so fun. And then this is the chapel right here on the right is the chapel at STEM, where we all gather in the morning and singing. There's a sermon for kids. And I think they go 2 or 3 times a week to that chapel, the kids.
So yeah. And also the kids are the ones that sing. So when we started walking over from the house that we stayed at, do you remember listening to that chant? The students, I mean, I thought it was an adult, but it was 3 young individuals just chanting the same verse over and over. It was beautiful. So when they worship, there's a lot of songs, and there's a lot of volume and color are represented, and they worship with style, and there's rituals, but it's more about expressing themselves. So, and this was a Christian church for both of them. So yeah.
Yeah, that was just amazing. I still remember that, how you said when we were walking from the house where we stayed at to there, I still remember the voices, and it was just, I don't think anyone saw me, but I got emotional, and I had some tears in my eyes because I just couldn't believe how much, what I was seeing, how much faith they have in everything. It was just amazing.
And one little boy, just so, because this presentation is about social work too. So the social work part of this is as well is last time we were there, I took social work students as well. And we went into home visits. So we did some home visits, and at that time they only had 25 students. So our social workers were able to go into certain homes, do an evaluation, do an assessment about the needs of specific children and who were the most needed, like to go be placed to get more funding. Well, Willie and I and some other students, we were able to fundraise enough to get one child, one sibling of another that was there, and then 3 other students. There were 3 siblings. The mom was HIV positive and was dying, so they needed to get those children in there. So when I heard those chanting, I was like, I wonder what little voice that is, because it was very loud, distinctive, little off key, but it was amazing. And there he was. I mean, he was one of them singing so loud that. And he then later on came up to me and I said, I remember you. I was at your house with your mom. And he's like, I remember you too. And he goes, thank you for you and your other ones and your team for placing me here. And the week that we came back from this trip, their mom did pass away. So the mom was able to live several more years, but she also knew that her children were being taken care of. So that assessment that we provided allowed the area or the community to know that these children were in need. Then STEM helped place them and find them sponsors. So it was completely a community event. And now these 3 little boys are nourished and fed both in spiritually, physically, and emotionally, mentally, brain health, and they are thriving now at STEM. And one was just singing like no other, and it was so cool and so beautiful, and it was amazing. Okay. Oh.
So I can talk a little bit about Cafe Blue. So Cafe Blue was founded by Dana, who founded Charity Tanzania. Cafe Blue was meant to employ 8 women who are single mothers and widows to empower them, encourage and support them. And apart from the Cafe Blue, Dana also mentioned that they do have like a club nearby, which I didn't see, but she mentioned that they made it because they saw a lot of people going outside of Buguni and just going to a club and spending their money in another town. So they wanted to keep the people there, and all the money and profit that they made off of the Cafe Blue and the club was gonna go towards their charity Tanzania, which was gonna support other families and needs in the community. And Jordan, I don't know if you want to talk about the Naquini sisters.
Yeah, so the Naquini sisters is a group of women. They do a lot of bead work. It's how they sustain themselves. It's their livelihood, I would say. And they sell, like, the jewelry usually comes back. I don't know if it goes otherwhere than in Sioux City, but you can find it at any local coffee shop in Sioux City. All of them sell them, so it's very cool to see. But yeah, they make all these different things. You can get coasters and necklaces and earrings and shoes, belts, like anything you can think of. They think they can make it.
And it's all about self-sustainability. So these women are empowered by other women and other and other agencies and organizations that are there to empower them to be self-sustainable, because the culture is very much male dominant, and sometimes women are impoverished. So many times they're impoverished, and this is their way of being able to give back to their family as well. Now it is in Sioux City, but I'm from Ida Grove, and I walked into a shop there and I'm like, wait, I know these women who make those baskets and who made those coasters and that's jewelry. So they are trying to get it out. But if you're ever interested, go to any coffee shop. There, Sunnybrook has a little shop, and or just call STEM, and there's always supplies on hand. They're great for gifts.
Okay, so here we have the social work that happens at STEM. On the left here, you have Danny, and then Melanie, what's her name again?
Joanne.
Yes, Joanne. They're the social workers for STEM. I think they said they work there full-time during the week and then they leave on the weekends, basically is what they do. They help do assessments. They offer what counseling services they can. They get kids into STEM. They do home visits. So all kinds of stuff. This one very on the, sorry, I'm going to skip around a little bit here. The one on the right is from one of our home visits. So that's the house that a family had originally lived in, because they had kind of been like sponsored and coached and like showed how to like make a little bit more of a sustainable living. They were able to move into a more proper home, so they weren't just crammed into one little thing. It's a bigger home with more room. But yeah, Vanessa, if you want to talk about Fatima.
Yeah. So Fatima, could you remind me what she has? Is it cerebral palsy?
Yep, cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So I don't have much information on her. All I know is that when we went, we were trying on that picture there on that playground is for the kids at STEM. And we got close to it and they like pushed it, and I mean it was falling apart. The kids cannot play in it. And that swing that you see there is the one with the chair. It was for her, for Fatima, but she, I believe, outgrew it, and they were trying to find a way to maybe export a swing for her from here, but I believe it was too expensive. And then as well, I don't think in Tanzania they had anything for her. So we were trying to figure that out. And Melanie, I don't know if you wanted to speak more on that.
Yeah, no, so there is an initiative that for funding that to get a swing over to her. And you think it'd be something so simple, but it's not. To ship something, you need an address, which we could probably go to Arusha, but it's extremely expensive. So there is a specific swing for her that is wanted and needed, so she can have kind of that some of that outside life that she well deserves. But it's just too much to get over to them, and it's not there. So they're thinking about if we can get the materials, could they make it, but would that be safe? They were, there's all these what ifs. So that is something that if you're interested in being a part of that, let us know, Willie or I know. I know I can get the swing because I have connections with the people who are patented the swing, but it's just getting it there is the challenge. So anyway, but she also has she was okay, I'm gonna go back. She was somebody that when we first went, Willie, I don't know if you remember her, but when she got to STEM, I think it was more like they were the people who like brought her to STEM was like, she's not gonna make it. Please just provide her a loving home so she can have the best life of the little life that she has left to live. And she is remarkable. When we were at she was singing with us at worship, and the mamas are women who take care of these children. They're called mamas, and they and aunties are the women who work under the mamas, but they were carrying her around, and she is now being able to get physical therapy. They have a walker for her, a makeshift walker that people from different universities have brought over. And it's just super cool and super amazing how they saw that human dignity within herself, and that they are fostering it and giving her just opportunities to grow and flourish. And you can tell everyone loves her. They take care of her. They take care of each other. So that's kind of cool. Okay, and part of the social work is doing those home visits. Danny and I and Joanne have had this partnership for quite a long time. So we try to meet monthly. It's more like, okay, if the time works, the internet works, we'll get together. So sometimes it's 3 or 4 months, but I have also placed students stateside as their practicum. So they did some policy work, educational work, and have given those documents, those assessments to Joanne and Danny. Because we were over there the first time, they're now really focusing on therapeutic skills and make sure the students have the resources they need for the mental brain health that they have, but also, signs and of abuse and trauma and how that can come out in a group setting, and really being aware and educating the mamas and the staff on what to look for signs of physical, emotional, sexual, and spiritual neglect. So it's been a great and amazing relationship that I've had with these social workers. And Danny's been here into the United States. He's been to our university, and he is like super excited to know that we are here to support him and his initiatives. Is this mine too?
Mhm.
Okay, Enactus, okay, in Charity Tanzania. So Enactus is a part of Briarcliff University's business program. And Judy Thompson is really a part of this, and Davis was the person who came with us. And they really should be on, but it's okay. So here's what's happened with Enactus. And my son was able to go over in the past, and this is why I'm getting involved. And when we were first there, my team that went the first time was able to speak at Nelson Mandela University on Enactus and their initiatives. So this is why I am involved with Enactus in a specific little way. So Enactus has fundraised. If you bought any donuts, Krispy Kreme donuts this past year from Enactus, this is a part of the fundraising they did. The community on the right, Charity Tanzania, it brings the community together and looks for ways to enrich their community for self-sustainability. So Enactus has, for $500, gives these canals, and you can see that on the left, there's that little door. Those are canals, and the water comes from Kilimanjaro off the mountain, and they come into these little narrow, like you can see there at the third picture. And then these canals allow the water to go to different avenues of the community. And you see the luscious greenery around there. That you can tell is where those canals are. Because without that, it's drought. So you can really see where these canals have the impact. And then even when the water is no longer to reach certain areas, it is like night and day. Beautiful, lush, drought. So Enactus is helping enrich these farmers, these environmentalists, into providing self-sustainability through the water project. So they have been able to fund this, and I think they're going to continue. And Davis was able to come over and see it, write about it, kind of more encourage. And also I know that Enactus is still doing, they just did another project, and it's escaping my mind what they did, and they were able to fundraise and create more opportunities for these farmers. But these farmers then get their crops nourished or watered, which then they can go out and sell in the community and still be self-sustainable for their family. And one man was extremely emotional when he was talking about this. And for men to get emotional in Tanzania, it's kind of unusual. So this man was getting very emotional about how it's pretty much saved so many lives, and it's touched so many lives because they're able to feed their children, they're able to feed their community, and all because the act of the Enactus at Briarcliff University. I didn't know the power of this until I saw this. And Will, you can also say that you can kind of give your background too. I literally was like, and I know my son was a part of this, but in a different way. But I was like, our university is doing amazing things, not only in social work and that little area and nursing, but the business department. And I'm getting goosebumps now. It was powerful. Willie, I don't know if you have more to say.
No, that's true, specifically, only just providing the opportunity to create this kind of infrastructure that is benefiting the peasants over there, but also, with the mamas as well, So Enactus and the business program has been doing a tremendous, job, positive job in Tanzania, precisely in the village of Moguni.
I also wanted to add that I don't know if you follow the Charity Tanzania on Instagram, but I was looking at it last night, and Dana had posted a video of the 3 canals connectors that they actually did, and I didn't know there was 3, so it's amazing. I also wrote down and saw that 80% of the villagers depend on the small farms. So these connectors impacted over 700 families, which is amazing.
So it's true, Vanessa. Follow them on Facebook, Charity Tanzania, and STEM, which is Siouxland Tanzania Educational Medical Ministry, and on Facebook and on Instagram. And you can see updates about Briarcliff and our initiatives that we support, but also ways if you have anything you'd like to support, or Willie and I are going, and Aaron are going back next year. So we would love some help. And I've already been reached out to several faculty, and I know our social workers would love some other students to go as well.
And Vanessa and Jordan, you are, welcome to join us.
Oh, yes, I would love to. Thank you.
That would be lovely.
Well, you sure can.
Mhm.
And I think this is our last slide. Is that correct?
There might be a little bit more after. But yeah, basically just we're touching on the differences. Like we mentioned earlier, education is very different, very different. It's seen as very much like a privilege and they're excited to go. As we're here, it feels like people have a more forced attitude, and that's kind of a bummer. Healthcare is also very, very different. The standards are extremely different. For one, like Danae, who works there, was telling us that like they don't really see like sanitation as much of a thing. So like before you get a shot or something, they may just give it to you instead of like cleaning the area and like using gloves and all that kind of stuff. On top of that, like we have very separated areas. So like each person would like get their own room in a hospital or something. But they were telling us that like it's not uncommon for like 3 women to be in the same room delivering a baby at the same time. Like that's a very shared experience, and that where we were very used to it being individualized. One thing that I really did like about healthcare over there, though, was like everything was very open air. Like everything was very like windows open, sunshine. So I feel like that's an aspect that I think would be nice, like to kind of come back here. I think it's very like that nature part is very beneficial to healing. So yeah, Vanessa, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, education, I think also, like you said, is very different. Something that surprised me over there was how they get taught English, correct? And I mean, my parents are one from Mexico and one from Guatemala, and in the area that they live, I mean, they don't get taught English. No one knows English there in that area. So that's something that surprised me, how the kids there know both their language and English. Other than that, the healthcare, I think they mentioned that they have to travel even on foot to get to anywhere to receive medical care. So that was also interesting to hear about. And I think, I mean, I think would be the most important to get them somewhere, build places where they can go there quickly, not walk a certain distance to receive the care that they need.
I think another thing is just that like how like accessible it is to us, but so is extremely not accessible to them. Like when we went to the Nakweni sisters, there was a boy who had, I believe it was a snake bite that had bitten his ankle, and he just didn't have access to medical care. So it was like slowly like developed an infection that was just eating away at his ankle, and you could just see his bone and his skin. And like sometimes he would have it wrapped up so like stuff wouldn't get in it, but sometimes it wasn't. And that was just his life. That's just what he lived with. And like he just went about his day to day with this open wound.
Melanie leave.
Okay, so before we conclude, I would like to ask you a question, I will start probably with Vanessa. Vanessa, in the future, if you have the opportunity to lead a group of social workers, what activities will you provide to learn about the challenges that the Tanzania society are facing?
Activities that I would.
Right, what activities related, like what specific places will you visit and what will you do in those places?
I think, I mean, there's a lot of areas that I would want to touch on, but I think education for me was the most important and the one that impacted me the most. Seeing some of these kids in public schools not have desks, not have the tools to learn, having limited teachers. So I think going to the schools and being part of the feeding program would be very important for us to visit and make change in.
Hey, thank you very much, Vanessa. And the last question for Jordan. Jordan, what was your perception of Tanzania before and after this immersive cultural experience? And why it's important for BCU students to participate in study abroad immersion experiences like this one?
Yeah, so before, I guess I would say like I didn't really have an idea. I think I had the basic idea that everyone kind of has when they think of like Africa or something, and you just think that like, oh, they don't have resources to things, or like, oh, it's very different than here. But I didn't really understand how different it is, or like how things like I think we take for granted. Like I can go to any doctor anytime I want I could get a paper cut and get it looked at, and like my insurance would take care of that. And healthcare is just so inaccessible over there. Also education, like I said before, we take for granted. And it's just, I think seeing how people go so far with very little that they have really puts into perspective, like what we have here, how we're not necessarily using everything to its full advantage like we could, and then how we also just overuse a lot of things, or like have a lot of waste because things are so disposable to us. But really, like it's such a big change. Like you realize like so many things here aren't as important as you think they are, and like really when you have just the things that you need, like you can do a lot with that. And it just to me was a very eye-opening experience.
I think, for all of us who had the opportunity to be in Tanzania, it's it's always an before and after. And it's always just an eye-opening about, how fortunate we are, but at the same time, how can we provide assistance to these communities in need?
Mhm.
How can we collaborate? And it really aligns with the Franciscan values that portrays Briar Cliff and our mission as an institution and as a Franciscan students and faculty,
Mhm.
right? Okay, anything, Melanie?
Sorry, my computer died. There goes the
Right.
PowerPoint. Welcome to old computer, I guess. So
I
I
have a last question to conclude for you, Melanie. I already asked those questions to the students, different ones. Why BCU should be involved in, in organizing these community-based learning experiences like this one in Tanzania? Why we should be provide this experience to our students?
Well, I'm a person that has been from a little town of Algona, Iowa, not very cultural diverse. And this allows students, it allows professors, it allows communities to go and really immerse themselves in a different culture, understanding the differences and how to go back into our communities and be able to give back to those communities in Africa or wherever they may go. Or and then you come back here and have a different outlook and give back to our own communities, maybe who have a different or even a similar kind of culture, but it allows us to see differences. It allows us to be a part of a time, even in America, where it's so important to embrace that and to be able to even connect more with the people that I'm serving. I'm also a medical social worker, and I tell my stories, and they're like, "Oh, you've been there." It's almost like a trust thing too that comes about. Like you're not afraid to travel. You're not afraid to get down and get dirty with planting or being in the waterways or and possibly going into some areas that don't have running water. But also I think it gives students the opportunities to get out of their comfort zone. I mean, I'm gonna, if Vanessa, is it okay that I share what we heard at your supervision? I mean, is that all right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she might have shared this when I was not able to be on, but Vanessa's supervisor in her practicum stated that when she came back, it was like they saw such a growth. Like she's more talkative, which is a part of social work, right? To be able to get in there. But they said that if she was just so excited to tell her stories, and that it's almost like I did this. And even me, it's like I traveled that 30-some hour flight. I was able to adjust to that time zone. I was able to interact with these individuals, and now I'm able to provide some opportunities of growth within all those, socially, emotional and financial to these individuals. I have connections now with Sister Ruth, and that's kind of what all those opportunities that are given. So, yeah, to give back. Hope I answered that very long. Sorry, Lily.
Well, that's fine. Thank you very much. Anything that you would like to add before we conclude with the recording?
I just want to say how Jordan and Vanessa, I tell, and Willie and Aaron and Davis, I could have never done this without you. And I say that after every group. When you go to a place like this, like Africa, or when we went to Chile, Willie, you become a family. It's like when we're there, we rely on each other. Do you have bug spray? Do you have this? Do you have that? We become a family, and we get to know each other in ways maybe we don't, that is sometimes unusual. And we just laugh, and it's literally a lot of love. And it's a Franciscan way, really. It's so human dignity, peacemaking, self-sustainability,
And building a caring community, right?
Building a caring community. That's huge.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just smiling, looking at y'all going, we did this together as a family.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Professor Melanie Berti-Heike, Ms. Jordan Rochester, and Ms. Vanessa Arriaga Molina, for your participation in this webinar, Transforming Lives, BCU Social Work Program in Tanzania 2024, a journey of impact and empowerment. Thank you again for your participation. We really appreciate that. And obviously, this webinar is going to be recorded. It's already been recorded, and it's going to be shared with the faculty and staff of our institution.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
again, and I look
you.
forward to see you again. Thank you very much. See you. Have a great evening.
You too.